everybody? It is the Mountaineers Now postgame show. I'm Schuyler. Callihan. That is Eugene. Napoleon, West Virginia, falling in absolutely heartbreaking fashion to the Houston Cougars, 41-39. A quick look at the numbers. Garrett Green had a career day, completed 20 of 38 passes for 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. The pick, of course, not all his fault there. We'll get to that here in just a second. Devin Carter, 5 catches, 116 yards, but the play of the game looked like it was going to be the play of the game was Hudson Clement getting that big touchdown there at the end to get the go-ahead score before Houston bounced back and took the game on a Hail Mary. Gene, it takes a lot for me. You know me. It takes a lot for me to be at a loss of words, and I really don't know where to start because I had everything all planned. When it was a 2-score game, 35-24 Houston, I kind of got my notes together. I was like, all right, we're going to be talking about a West Virginia loss. They got the touchdown to get back into it. I'm like, okay, but still, they're going to still need some things to happen. They go and get the touchdown. Then all of a sudden, I'm scrambling, thinking, oh, no, how am I going to go about this? And then you think, okay, we're going to talk about a win. And then all of a sudden, boom, Hail Mary at the end of the game. That's a absolutely tough way to lose, and to all people, you're going to lose that game that way to that man.
Let me say this to you, plain and simple. My wife came downstairs and she said to me about Houston, bad teams will always find a way to lose, even when they're winning. Now, when we went up, my thing was I don't particularly get all amped and start saying that the game is over because I played this game for a long time. I've seen things happen, as you have as well. You've seen things happen. So did it surprise me that happened? No, it does not. Here's the catch-22 in this game. So first off, you cannot allow any team to hang around and keep it close, but especially his type of team because of the type of coach that he is. So at the end of the day, when we went, I think it was 3 possessions or 4 possessions where we just seemingly couldn't get it together on offense and we had the punt. I knew then we were going to be in trouble when we didn't take a 2-score lead going into the half.
Yeah.
That troubled me because I'm like, okay, there's some things that's going to have to happen during the course of this game that's going to have to come down to coaching during the course of this game. If we didn't go up by 2 scores going into the half, that was my initial thought, to be completely honest with you.
Yep.
And exactly what I thought in the back of my head came to fruition, and that wound up being the reality of the game and how we end the game losing on a Hail Mary.
It's a tough thing to lose, and I again, when you're down 11 points, you kind of feel like, I mean, the game wasn't over, but just the way things have started to unfold, the defense wasn't making plays, the offense was kind of sputtering a little bit. You felt like it was kind of over with. For them to not only come back, but then to take the lead, and I mean, really, just for them to even have a chance. I mean, the defense stepped up; they got backed up to their own 10. You still needed a lot of things to happen to even get into field goal range. They get kind of on the door of field goal range, and on 4th down and gotta have it, you come up with a touchdown, and you're feeling like, man, 12 seconds left, like this game's over. But then the flag comes out. I don't know. I turned my head. I started trying to figure out what I was going to do in my article. So I don't know. From everything I'm hearing on social media, I haven't been able to see it just yet, but it didn't look like there was enough there to warrant a flag for celebration. I don't know if you had seen it or not, but
I did. And let me explain something to you. Here's the thing. All right. And I'm just going to be completely forthright. That comes down to the discipline of your team. That comes down to knowing where you are.
Yeah, you
that
can't.
Comes
You
out.
just can't do it. Can't do it.
It comes down to really understanding the magnitude of the game, and the game is not over. You understand, and you can't give them 2 yards, not less, 15 extra yards. Okay.
Yeah.
Because not for nothing, that penalty, and that's what Neil Brown was arguing at the very end of the game. No, yeah, too late to argue that now. You didn't argue that point when we scored to go up, so you can't argue it when you lose on a Hail Mary. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
But those are things that are crucial in big time college sports, man. You win some, you lose some, but I certainly hate to lose a game like that when we should have won. To be again completely forthright, Houston had no business scoring that many points in the first place.
They did not. And
Let me be clear.
that's where I want to go back to this because it's so hard to kind of take the focus away from the end of the game just because of how that thing unfolded. But when you go back to the first half, I mean,
Mhm.
could West Virginia have not dominated that quarter any more than they did? And I mean, to me, the way they played in that first half, and again, I know the second half offensively wasn't great. They had 29 total offensive yards against the worst defense in the league in the second quarter. That's a problem.
Yes,
But when you started out the game, the way you started it out, and the way your defense still made enough plays, you should not have went into the half down. You should be up by at least a score or two. There's no reason for that.
that was my point. Now, I'm going to say it again. For whatever reason, listen, if you're playing on the road and you can run the football, and at one point you're averaging somewhere between 4 to 5 yards a carry
Yep.
with any one of your the variety of running backs, including the quarterback, and you're getting 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, beat them up front and continue to dominate the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why that's important. Because that's important for the long game. That's important for the third and fourth quarter. You understand? And for me, that's what alarmed me. Like I said, at the half, I'm thinking, no, we squandered some things late in that first quarter, going into the second quarter, when we had I want to say three possessions where we couldn't move the ball. We had to punt.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you got to take advantage of those things, man. You have to score in those situations. And again, I always say this, it comes down to coaching. That's a game that West Virginia could have easily won.
Should have.
Easily.
And
Easily.
I understand both teams are coming off the bye, so both teams had things that they could have worked on throughout that. And clearly, even before that last drive by Garrett Green, you can tell there was some serious progress made in the passing game. I'm not saying that it's good enough to win the league, but it's night and day from where it was prior to the bye. And part of that could just be Garrett's finally healthy and he's finally getting reps in there with the ones. But going to the interception, I mean, again, these are plays you have if you want to be a good team. And again, you can have mistakes happen throughout a game. It's about overcoming those mistakes. But on that type of a play, I mean, Garrett could not have put that ball in a better
Right.
place on that
Absolutely.
wheel route to Jalen Anderson. You have got, I know
Absolutely.
you're running back, man, but you've got to come down with that. Gene,
You
you
have
know
to.
about it. You know, even though as a running back, you're responsible to catch that dang ball. That is a
You got to make that
huge
play.
momentum changer. You go from going up, I believe would have been 10 points to
Points, yes.
they swing it the other way and now they get a touchdown. And
Yeah. I know, absolutely.
that's a huge momentum changer. And again, I don't know why they did it at all, but why kick off to that kid? I mean, Golden is arguably one of the best kickoff and punt returners in the country. We have talked about it all week long. Neil talked about it all week long, yet they still kicked it to him and they made him pay for it. And here's the thing, and some people will say on Twitter, I saw some of these comments, oh, the kicker maybe can't, or the kicker can't put it in the end zone. Yes, he can. You know what
Yeah,
that is?
absolutely.
He did. He did on two of them, I believe. Those
Absolutely.
are called kickoffs. What
Yes.
West Virginia is trying to do is trying to pin them within that little 20-yard cushion that you get when you get a touchback. Sometimes it's being a little too cute and you get paid for, and it backfires. And that's what happens.
There were two college coaches and two teams that I played against. Uh, God bless him to the grave he went. Joe Paterno kick it to him. Kick it to Napoleon, right? Continue to, and yeah, it almost didn't work out for him, right?
Right.
Bobby Morse at Maryland. Kick it to him. First play of the game, I take it back for a touchdown. Don't kick it to him no more. Oh, so you're 100% right. Those things are called. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to this very last Hail Mary. To lose a game like that, it's a few different things that you go through in your mind. And I'm devastated for the players. I really am. Devastated for the staff. I really am. But what are you taught when the ball is in the air and it's a Hail Mary? You're not taught, just knock it down. Don't try to catch it. Matter of fact, bat it if you can in front of you to the ground, because you don't want to bat it into an oncoming receiver and he catch it and float and falls in the end zone. No, but knock it down. You don't want to bat it in back of you. But to lose a game like that in that fashion, coaching.
Yeah.
Because it should have never gotten to that point. Houston is not a good football team. Let me be clear. I'm going to say it again. Houston is not a good football team. We made them look a little bit better than what they are. We made Dana look a little bit better than what he really is as a coach, because it looks like he outcoached Neil Brown. That's what it looks like. Because if you go back and look at the stats in all the other games that they lost, right, you will see these other teams, TCU and Texas Tech, who we beat both,
they lost
beat them handily.
Yeah.
Handily. No problem, right? Made it look like they didn't belong in the big, in this conference, in the Big 12 conference. Made it look that way. Then all of a sudden they play us and we make them look like they do belong in this conference. We talked about depth being a problem. It didn't look like depth was a problem tonight.
No.
We talked about their defense really having some problems up front. Well, didn't look like they had any problems up front tonight.
Sure
so my point is, we have to figure out a way to not let bad teams hang around and keep it close, because if they keep it close, you have a chance to lose a game the way we lost it tonight, and it truly is heartbreaking.
And again, when Hudson Clement got that touchdown, my mind started thinking, you know what, this is setting up to be just one of those. I don't want to call it special, because to me, a special season's like, what you guys did in '88, the '93 team, the '07 team, but it just felt like one of those seasons where it's like everything's just going your way. You're just finding a way to win no matter what, and then the Hail Mary happens, and you're like, wow, that just stripped everything away, and now you're 4-2, you're 1-1 or 2-1 in conference play, which at the end of the day, you're still in the picture. Okay. This is still a long season. There's still a lot of football to be played, but you put yourself in a very tough spot, because again, let's go ahead and look at the road ahead while we're at it. So you got Oklahoma State next Saturday. So you got a little bit of time to kind of bounce back from this one, flush this one, because this one's a tough one to wash out. But you got Oklahoma State at home next Saturday for homecoming. Then you go to the bounce house to take on UCF, come back home for BYU. Then you got Oklahoma, Cincinnati, and Baylor. On paper, again, we've talked about this stretch before. It doesn't look difficult, but we said that about this game, right? We said Absolutely. This was a game West Virginia should have won. And you could say that any of those games left on the schedule, they could win, they could lose all of them. They could win all of them, they could lose all. So when you lose a game like this to what is perceived to be one of the bottom 2 or 3 teams in your conference, that's a pretty big gut check that you just took. Because if you want to be in the Big 12 picture in late November, you can't have losses like that on your schedule.
Listen, let me, okay. No, it's not even, you can't, not only could you not lose to Houston, they can't score 30 some odd, 40 some odd points. You can't put yourself in a position where coming down the stretch, they're even close to being at the same level that you are.
Yeah.
if you're talking about being a conference championship team or anywhere in the midst of the top 2 to 3 teams in our league.
And it's not like this was in a hostile environment. My gosh, Gene, they had like what, 10,000 fans there?
If
I
that.
mean, and they
So
played in Happy Valley, they played in the backyard brawl. Like this is,
I
I don't.
have. I'm gonna give it away real quick. I'm gonna have the great, Brian Joswiak on, God willing, on Relatively Sports, and I'm gonna have him recant a story about this very game prior to, because he went to the game,
Yeah.
and it just had me rolling. So I mean, rolling in terms of the fans and whatever. But I'm gonna save that story and let him tell it, right? But you're 100% right. The hostile environment. What you had, 3 crickets and a rabbit? Stop it. It wasn't a hostile environment. The problem is we have to do better, show better, and be coached better in games like this. It should not have come down to a Hail Mary, point blank, period.
Last thing before we get out of here. So obviously, this is a huge, disappointing loss, but it's hard to even understand like how do you even go about characterizing this in terms of not only the team but also Neil, because I think if you told a lot of people going into this game West Virginia's going to lose, you'd probably start to think, okay, maybe Neil's not quite off the hot seat, but the way they won or the way Houston won this game, obviously they needed a prayer to be answered at the end. But you could also say the same thing about West Virginia at their with their go-ahead touchdown and having to go 90 yards down the field and all that stuff. So in terms of where Neil sits on that seat, what is the temperature? I mean, do you feel like it got a little warmer? It didn't move, didn't alter anything. Like, I mean, what do you even take out of that? Or is it just there's so much football left to be played, you
I
can't even
think
get into it?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think because again, the optics says and the narrative is
You just lost the
he
streak.
yeah, that's going to be the narrative. And it's going to also be, again, that's up to you as a head coach to coach that situation better. That cannot happen. You can't have 8 people, 8, jerseys back there, and a kid winds up catching, a touchdown to end the game and you win. So that's going to fall back on him. There's a lot of football left to play. And I think that question will better be answered in the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what they do. If they win 2 or 3 football games in a row and become bowl eligible, and Houston is the blemish that's on your freaking record, then so be it. But if they stumble again, it'll be said that Houston was the start of the stumbling and we couldn't recover. And again, that's going to fall on Neil Brown.
It is. It absolutely is. And I think, too, teams that compete for Big 12 championships, like I said, you can't have these types of losses. But if you do happen to have one of these losses, you're going to have to make that up with a game that you weren't expected to win. So whether that's the game that's going to be at the Bounce House in Central Florida, or whether that's the game in Norman against the Oklahoma Sooners, maybe even in Waco against the Baylor Bears, you've got to find a way to beat one of those teams that you're not expected to beat. And then you also have to take care of business against the teams that you are supposed to beat from now on. So there's a lot of, again, it's really hard to wrap this thing into just a short mini show. But it's a heartbreaker for sure for the Mountaineers again. Fall 41-39 to Dana Holgorsen and the Houston Cougars, 4-2 on the season, and 2-1 in Big 12 conference play. And I guess, Gene, maybe I am the hex. Maybe all those people were right. I should have just picked Houston and on the game day show.
Listen, I wasn't going to say that. I didn't want to put it on you to say it, but yeah.
I'll take the L for this one. So let me know in the comments section if you're on YouTube watching this. If you want me to start going against West Virginia, just let me know, and I'll just abide by whatever you guys want me to do, and that way I can't be the scapegoat anymore. So anyways, that's going to do it for us tonight. West Virginia losers 41-39. That's Eugene, Napoleon. I'm Schuyler Callihan. Thank you guys for tuning into the Mountaineers Now postgame show. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Mountaineers Now. Give us a like as well. I'll be back tomorrow morning for the morning after. Take care.